Let's talk to Jamie Jenkins, independent statistician, of course. He's here with us because he's been looking at some of those stats that came out last week about people in our jails. Jamie, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. And just on the tactics, what normally happens in football, if your tactics ain't working, you change the manager. So maybe it's time to change Starmer, perhaps.
Yeah, well, that's one way of looking at it. But, I mean, I just don't understand what the hell they're doing. They don't seem to know what the hell they're doing. But you've got some interesting stats for us, which is kind of still related in a way to what we've been seeing this weekend, right, in terms of the protests and public order offences and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it was kind of released last week. There was a lot of discussion on the foreign criminals in jail, and so I was looking through all the numbers, Mike, and you get in a lot of comments this morning and people on the show talking about the protests. People are getting angry with people coming over the small boats and crimes, and what we've seen is quite stark. We've seen a big increase now, 65% increase in the number of prisoners in jail for public order offences, which will include things like going to the protests, some of the things they're posting online. So we've kind of always seeing now under Keir Starmer, Mike, a bit of a situation now where we're locking up opinions and we're letting out offenders, because this 65% increase means we've got now over 3,100 people in jail. But we'll remember over the last year as well, we've also let out 16,000 prisoners early because we didn't have enough room in the jails. So, you know, you've got this two-tier system now where the numbers are backing up what a lot of people have been saying on your show for the last year, right, where people are being locked up for these opinions, going to these protests, and people are being let out early. And the sad thing is, Mike, we have seen evidence as well where somebody was let out early and they went on to kill somebody, you know, so this is quite shocking what we're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely right. And in terms of these people who are being, I suppose you might not know the answer to this, but in terms of people who are being locked up for this public order stuff, does it tend to be people who haven't really been anywhere near a prison before?
Well, we don't know that. We just got the bare figures, Mike. But if you track the figures for the last 10 years, as you watched the government publish last year, they were hovering quite flat for about, 10. They started creeping up a little bit in the last couple of years, but marginal. And then I've got a kind of a chart on my website, and it just shows that this massive rocket up as soon as Starmer came in. Now, it did coincide with the riots, but you've got to remember then that Starmer launched this National Violent Disorder Programme. He was, encouraging the police to clamp down on this. And we've seen more arrests over the weekend. We've got the online safety bill, which might see more arrests again that's come in because of the kind of policing of free speech. And it's quite stark. I've never seen, the only thing I've seen where it's rocketed up over the last year are things like the job losses as well, Mike. So, these are kind of quite stark statistics. Letting people out early when the prisons are full and then filling the prisons up with this kind of offence does seem rather strange, I think.
It does, doesn't it? As well as I mean, particularly given we've got such a backlog in the judicial system, where we hear that there's something like 76,000 outstanding cases, and a backlog that goes for at least a year, possibly 2 years, before you can even see a trial judge. An awful lot of those public order offences were seen straight away. An awful lot of the people who are in prison now were convinced that they should, by their own lawyers, plead guilty, because then they would be given a lighter sentence, and none of that happened.
Yeah, and that's quite an important point what you said there, Mike, that a lot of people were scared. People who have never really been in trouble with the police pled guilty. We had an instance in South Wales where I am, where somebody they said, oh no, I'm not guilty, I'm going to go to court on this. They went all the way to court, took a while. They were in prison for part of the time, but as soon as they went to court, Mike, they had the trial. Jury took less than an hour to throw it out. So I think if more of these people held their nerve and didn't plead guilty to start, they probably wouldn't have gone to jail in the first place. So I think that's what's being borne out in these figures now, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Fascinating. Jamie, good to talk to you. We'll have to explore it a bit more soon. Jamie Jenkins, independent statistician there, on some very interesting stats on who's going to prison and what they're going to prison for. And a lot of them are going there for the first time for public order offences.